Mark, how do you see an organization like the Center for Higher Ambition Leadership helping you and others on the journey?
I got engaged in the center probably, well, I think it's 6, 7 years ago. Well, I think was my first visit. Ed Ludwig, our lead director, actually it
Yeah.
was 6 years ago. Ed Ludwig, our lead director, who's been involved in the center for a while, invited
Yeah.
me and said, you ought to come and meet these people. You're the kind of guy that, might learn something from this. And I went and I think initially it was, I was just learning about how people were thinking about this and what were the mechanics and the reasons why it should be powerful. And and then I think as we continued meeting and I continued engaging with people like Stan Bergman, Henry Schein, and a few other folks, Dick, a few other folks around, Russ, the whole team. And, iteratively in the year between the meetings, it was sort of, I'm starting to get this. It makes some good sense. It's not just an academic exercise
Right.
and, making everybody feel good. And I started talking to my board about it. And, Ed's on the board and he's the lead director and he was very supportive. And the board started to get some energy behind it. And I think it gave me sort of ideas about how I can learn from the rest of the group, try ideas, and it was just sort of like a safe house, right? You could
Yeah.
go in and talk about things without being labeled a nut, which is something you have to overcome internally first, but then you need to find people externally. And I was always taught that having your own external network that you can trust in, which I think is the thing that the center does, is
Yes.
creates a trusting environment. Chatham House Rules was very powerful. So I think that whole dialogue is a very important one. And I think we're all evolving as we go along and trying new things. And I think sharing best practices is an incredibly powerful thing. Studying the results of some of these best practices is important, and publishing work about what works and getting audiences external to us by saying, here are things that, we're looking at as a group that we think are important and that we ought to do more of, and that we ought to encourage other CEOs and other corporations. And so the invitation sort of nature of it and bringing more people in, I think, is all very powerful.